You're listening to The Briefing with me, Andrew Tuck. To Israel now, where a group of 43 veterans and reservists of a secretive military intelligence group called Unit 8200 have announced that they'll no longer participate in surveillance on Palestinians. The protest, in the form of a letter, was made public on Friday. Well, the Israeli military, as you can imagine, aren't exactly thrilled about the public spotlight here and have threatened disciplinary action. Joining me now is Gerald Steinberg, a professor of political studies at Bar Ilan University and the founder-president of NGO Monocle, a public affairs think tank in Jerusalem. Professor, tell us, why did these people decide to speak out now?
That's actually an interesting question, and apparently it's connected. We're all guessing it's connected with the Gaza war. Most of those people have not served in the military for at least 5 years. I believe only 2 have been on duty as reservists in this unit in the last few years. So therefore, this is something that's clearly been brewing among this group, and it's not completely unusual. There is a small minority of Israelis that have very strong views about the occupation and about they think this should be ended unilaterally, that Israel should pull out, that it has very strong human rights implications. We've seen other groups of soldiers, as any other part of Israeli society and democracy, reflecting those kinds of positions. The fact that they came out now and they came out publicly apparently is in the aftermath of the Gaza war, and it was a public relations move. It was to give them publicity where there was already focus. I think they also published initially in The Guardian as well as in an Israeli paper. One of their goals was, as it always is, to get some international visibility on this, to put pressure on the Israeli government, because they're not succeeding at the ballot box. These groups that have existed for many times have not been able to make their case that Israel would be better off with an alternative right now.
Now, they claim that the information that was gathered by them was used to, in their words, harm innocent people and to orchestrate rifts in Palestinian society. Do we have a clear picture of what they've actually been up to on the ground?
No. First of all, they're all anonymous, which actually befits someone who's working in an intelligence unit and whose job it is. They were 8200 is a well-known organization. It's well-known for its secrecy. And they gathered the information from electronic intelligence means, probably. And when you gather information, you gather all sorts of things, including political aspects and personal aspects. There is a state of war that has existed between Israeli and Palestinian leaders in different forms and different places since 1948, let's say. And so what they said was very vague, but not particularly surprising or shocking. Clearly, Palestinians are also using whatever vehicles and means they have to promote their positions and their interests within the Israeli framework. So we don't know very much about the details beyond what they wrote in their letter, and it has been disputed by others, saying that, well, nothing was being done that's beyond the very necessary requirements of protecting Israelis against Palestinian terrorism, which we know is a very serious threat.
Could you just tell me, we don't have much time left, but we had a gentleman called Dror Murray on the radio some time ago on Monocle 24. He made a film, The Gatekeepers, about Shin Bet. And what was fascinating watching that film was that you realised at the heart of the intelligence community, the heart of the military, there were some people who just felt that actually, after all these years of war and fighting, there had been missed opportunities and this wasn't the way to conclude things. And that the people in the political machine forced the ongoing war in a way more than the military people. Do you think there is within the heart of the military organisation, there are some people who just think that this is the wrong way to go ahead and do have a voice?
Again, yes, that's what democracy is all about, particularly after you finished your military service, or in the case of the gatekeepers, you finished your service as head of the intelligence units that they headed. People have a natural democratic inclination to say, I was part of that policy, but now looking back on it, I disagree. There's a small minority, and what they have not been able to do in Israel's very active democratic framework is to bring that case across to the majority of Israelis. There is no political machine. What there are a lot of parties and a lot of debate that takes place, and in order to and that's, I think, the problem and the criticism of the 43 from the intelligence unit also, that they made their case to The Guardian, they made their case outside of Israel. They should be part of the political process, and if they can convince enough Israelis that there is a basis for an agreement between Israeli and Palestinians that will provide safety and security for Israel, then by all means it should be pursued. They have not been able to make that case. They have not succeeded in making that case since the Oslo agreements basically fell apart with the terrorism that we witnessed in the late 90s and more or less has continued in different periods. And what we saw in Gaza was just another eruption of that. So you have to make the case in a democratic society. Protesting in an anonymous letter that goes out to the world is really something that is counterproductive in that sense.
Professor Steinberg, thank you very much for joining us. That was Professor Gerald Steinberg from Bar Ilan University.